Well, our theme in the month of December is peace. And actually, I'll be talking about war, the fact that we're in the longest war in American history right now. I'll be talking about actual war and fighting and conflict in my sermon, Rules of Engagement, next Sunday. But today I want to talk more about the inner peace that it takes, those wars we have in our lives with different people who are difficult to get along with, and some of those kinds of conflicts. Have you ever been stuck maybe in a holiday with someone you really did not want to be with? Like a know-it-all neighbor, or an annoying uncle, or a codependent coworker, or an insane in-law, for example. It's easy to love humanity. It's people who can be hard to live with sometimes. Here's what we have in Oklahoma that people in other parts of the country just don't have. It's the all-purpose expression, bless your heart. People in the South know how to bless someone's heart in a way that covers up a whole host of sins. Poet Richard Newman captures the essence of this double-edged phrase. He writes, "At Steak and Shake, I learned that if you add bless their hearts after their names, you can say whatever you want about them, and it's okay." "My son, bless his heart, is an idiot," she said. "He rents storage space for his kids' toys. They're only 1 and 3 years old." I said, "My father, bless his heart, has turned into a sentimental old fool. He gets weepy when he hears my daughter's greetings on our voicemail. Before our steak burgers came, someone else blessed her office mate's heart. Then, as an afterthought, the jealous hearts of the entire anthropology department. We bestowed blessings on many a heart that day. I even blessed my ex-wife's heart. Our waiter, bless his heart, would not be getting much tip, for which no doubt he'd bless our hearts. In a week, it would be Thanksgiving, and we would each sit with our respective families, counting our blessings and blessing the hearts of family members as only family does best." You see what the rest of the country is missing out on without this sly little expression that is so very useful? And no doubt sometimes people actually do mean kindness with this expression, but often it is a way to insult someone without feeling bad about yourself. It also uses the guise of religion to dress up hypocrisy and meanness as if it is something more. It's like the prayer by Mark Twain, as long as we say it to God, then maybe it's not so bad, right? What got me on this train of thought was Dorothy Shikoda, who mentioned a few weeks ago that what she did when someone cut her off in traffic. Now, Dorothy, as you may know, is our greeter at the 11:30 service. She gets up on the chancel each week and says that love is the spirit of this church, and she says that everybody is included in this love. So a few weeks ago, she told the congregation that she's really starting to live into this spirit of love and inclusion here at All Souls, and told the story of being cut off in traffic, and she noticed a familiar four-letter word forming in her mind. She instead found herself staring down her new nemesis, thinking, even you are included in that love. And the whole congregation cracked up as she said it, because we know that it's easy to sit here on Sunday morning and talk about everyone being included and loved. And it's a whole nother thing to live into it in our everyday lives. Now, I could tell that she was being genuine, and here's what she was doing. Dorothy was not making this about the man who cut her off. She was making it about her. She knew that she was not going to change this man's behavior or his driving habits, no matter what she did. She wanted to know, can she love so fully? Can she really include everyone, or is this just what we say in church to make ourselves feel good? So the idea, of course, is that if we are worthy, if everybody is worthy and included in this idea and the spirit of love, then so is this person who cut her off or cuts us off in traffic. And keep in mind that to love someone does not mean that we have to like them. This is an important distinction. Liking people is a whole different story. And there are a lot of people I know I will probably never like, but that's different from loving someone in the sense of opening up our hearts that they deserve kindness and compassion. So saying he's included, though, that's different, I hope, from saying bless his heart. Because you can say, bless his heart, now I'm going to go run him down and show him how it feels. Today I'm going to share with you some thoughts on how we can deal with difficult people and situations in our lives that does not lower us to a level below who we want to be in the world. Now you can tell that I've probably been spending a lot of time with family over the last week or so. Actually, my family's great. We had a very tension-free holiday, mostly tension-free holiday this year. But the point is, how do we deal with difficult people and situations without sort of falling down to, going to their level, but, and we probably won't bring them up necessarily to our level, but still, the question is, do we need to descend in these moments? Last week, Bishop Carlton Pearson was here speaking at our contemporary service, and in his message, he said that when we don't like a person, what we're really saying is, I don't like the way I am or the way I feel when I'm in that person's presence. So why do we give other people that much power over us? Why do we let other people get under our skin so easily? Why do we let them disturb our peace? One of my favorite quotes on this subject is from the Dalai Lama, who, when asked if he's angry at the Chinese for having stolen his country and harmed so many of his people, the Dalai Lama replied, "They already stole my country. I'm not going to let them take my peace of mind as well." Now, I know what you might be thinking. I ain't no Dalai Lama. Maybe even I ain't no Dorothy Shakota. Well, I'm not either, so that's why I've been looking for some advice and practical ways that we can keep the peace inside even when there is insanity and turmoil all around us. What it's about is, how can we be who we want to be, who we know we are at our best, even when others and other situations are dragging us down? We say it every week, love is the spirit of this church. And so I took the 4 things that I discovered to be helpful, and I found a way to spell the word love with them, sort of spell the word love with them. So the L is for listen. When we're in a conversation with someone we don't like or who we disagree with, we usually stop listening pretty early because we already know they're wrong, and we just want to think about how we're going to respond and show them how wrong they are. But in this case, I'm not just talking about listening with our ears, because listening really is a full body contact sport in a way. It requires our eyes as well as listening with our eyes as well as our hearts to hear the song behind the words. Often, when someone is saying these people and their politics are going to destroy our democracy, the song behind the words is, I'm scared of what's happening or what might happen. When someone says, but if you don't believe in this or that, you're going to hell, the song behind the words is, I'm scared for you. And it's important to observe people's body language, of course, because if, when someone is, they're sitting there like this, like, no, I'm totally comfortable with what's going on right here. I'm fine. No, I'm fine. It's fine. We obviously, when people are, like a couple of you sitting out there right now, when you're crossing your hands, I get the idea that you may not be fully with me on that, and that's okay. That's totally fine, but it's important that we pay attention to this. The problem is that we don't listen so much with our eyes anymore. We don't really pay attention to body language in the same way. And I know this because I'm often the worst offender. Right? Just the other night, Anitra, my wife, came in to talk to me, and she said, Marlin, I need to tell you something. And I was in the middle of texting someone, and as usual, I thought, I could do 2 things at once. I'm pretty good at that. And so I said, sure, what's up, honey? And here we go. And I nodded, and I said, uh-huh, at all the appropriate moments while we were having this conversation. And then a few minutes later, I got busted when I asked her a question about something she had just told me a few minutes ago. Now, we all know that we need to not just listen to the content of what someone's saying. And especially when we disagree with people, we need to both look and listen so that we can hear the song behind the words. The point is not to get hooked on the content. That's what happens. We get hooked on the content that somebody is bringing forward, and we lose track of what's our goal. Why are we even talking to this person? Why are we with this person? And we end up getting dragged down a road to nowhere, having a conversation that we might as well not even be in oftentimes. And so we got to figure out what is the conversation that really needs to happen right now, and then take the lead in helping make that conversation the conversation on the table or at the table at the moment. So it's about steering the direction and paying attention to what conversation needs to happen. Now that's the L for listen, right? The O is for oh snap. You know this expression? Have you heard it? This is very useful also. Maybe even more useful than bless your heart. I think the snap, of course, is a replacement for another four-letter word that starts with S. It's an expression of unpleasant surprise. Oh, snap, right? In this case, it's that moment when Dorothy got cut off in traffic and she noticed herself uncontrollably wanting to give the single finger salute. And when Dorothy, of course, we know she would never do that, and I know you would never do that, but we can imagine that she felt the urge. We know what that's like, to feel the urge. Let's keep it real here. But at that moment, when she noticed her finger trying to lift itself without her approval, as soon as she realized it, she wrestled back control of that middle finger and says, oh, snap, I almost let myself get hooked. And let's just say that snapping is a better use of the middle finger. The point is that when we realize that we're being triggered, when we notice that someone has gotten there under our skin, that it's activating the evil twin that lives within each of us, then we need to pause for a moment, find some way to just snap out of that trance so that we can regain our composure. Now, it's that oh snap moment when we realize that my button's being pushed and things are going downhill. And it's with that realization that we can often start to realize that we can choose how to respond rather than just react. It's the ability to pause that actually makes us human. You know, animals don't have a pause. They just, whatever stimulus comes up, they react. Unless we train them, unless they're very well domesticated. Animals don't have a pause. Humans have a pause. Insane people don't have a pause. It's what makes us different. And so learning to sort of find that place of pause, meditation, and there's lots of different practices that people use to try to stay aware of what's going on so that we're not just in the moment reacting to everything that's happening within us. It's the Dalai Lama, when he notices that he's feeling angry and being filled with anger for the Chinese, that he has that pause that says, they've already taken my country, I'm not going to let them take my peace of mind. Now, it's the same in our own lives. I mean, it's the same, a little bigger context, but if you think of being divorced, you know, the person's already taken my family, maybe already taken my dream for my future. I'm not going to let them take my peace of mind. I'm not going to let them take my spirit and my health and my happiness. And it's the same when someone dies. When someone dies in our lives, it's that, are we going to let ourselves die, our spirit die, our joy die with them, or are we going to learn to choose how we're going to be in the world? Now, in those instances, obviously there's grief, and it's a longer process than just the oh snap moment, but it's based on the same idea. So the O in love, in this case, is oh snap. It's that remember, snap out of it when somebody is triggering us, when our evil twin comes out. Some people have a name for their evil twin that comes out. I don't know if you've ever named that side of yourself. I've heard some funny names for it. I won't ask you to call them out this morning. And remember, a snap transforms our middle finger into a musical instrument instead of salacious salutation, for example. So L is for listen, O is for oh snap, out of it, and V is not for victory. Right, you think about Nixon winning the presidential election, you know, V meant victory back then, but now this means something different, right? This means peace. And so remembering that V is not for victory, and that victory is not the goal in these conversations, in these situations often, and it's about realizing that when we're debating religion or we're debating politics with people, that, you know, whether it's a friend or a family member or a foe, that relationship is often the goal, not victory. And I think we often get confused about that, and we think that we actually have this idea that we're going to change the person's religion or change the person's politics in these conversations, and we get sucked in so many different ways. So now, of course, we know that we're right, and we know the other person's wrong, and it would be great satisfaction if we could have the person leave the conversation knowing how wrong they are. But victory is not the goal, and it's rarely achievable anyway. So I've gotten into this with my uncle, and I've realized that, you know, he holds very interesting views on people and politics and life, and I realized I'm not going to change his mind. I've finally come to terms with it, and so we don't, you know, if we decide to debate some of these issues, then we know we're doing this. Why are we doing this? Probably not to change each other, but we're doing it to test our wit, to have a, you know, to test out our arguments, to get a chance to get our blood boiling a little bit together. But I always, the key is just not making it personal, having some fun, remembering we're having a debate about something that we both have a different opinion about, but not making it so personal. I think that's where it goes wrong for so many people. It just gets so personal so quickly. It's about caring about people more than our positions and our politics, caring about the relationship. And in case of getting cut off in traffic, it's definitely not about victory, right? It's not about winning. Now, when I was young, I would have tried to, you know, chase that person down and show them how it feels, but I still feel young sometimes when I'm in my car. But, you know, obviously it's not about winning. Now, fortunately, I'm a minister, so I always have in the back of my head, if I ever were to give the finger wave to somebody when I'm driving, that they might walk right into the church on Sunday morning, and I'm going to feel really ridiculous. So that keeps me honest. I don't know what keeps you honest. But there's times when somebody is, you know, and I'm a terrible driver, I'll admit that. And so I've had people just, you know, giving me the finger and looking at me mean looks and honking, and I think, you know, I wish I could just tell them I'm a minister and, you know, think maybe they feel ridiculous about that. So V is not about victory, it's about peaceful engagement. And E is my daughter's favorite, my daughter who turns 4 tomorrow. This is her favorite one. E stands for easy peasy lemon squeezy. And I know I'm not supposed to use biblical references here in this service, but this I think is translated from the Hebrew. You know, things get, you know, changed in translation, but I think it was after David killed Goliath with one stone that the Israelites were like, how did you do that? And, you know, he was a teenager, of course, at the time, so he's like, easy peasy lemon squeezy. I mean, obviously in the idiom of his own language and his own time, but now in English, this funny rhyme comes from an old British dish detergent commercial, I found out. And I understand in the commercial, a little girl complains to her aunt about the dishes are so greasy. She's supposed to wash them. And her mother admonishes her and produces the lemon squeezy. And the results are, of course, astoundingly successful. And the girl says, easy peasy lemon squeezy. The final point here is that in order to live into love in our lives and our relationships, even in difficult situations, it means that when we are drawn in, when we are drawn down, and less than our best comes out, we need to clean it up after it's over. We need to be big enough to apologize and to realize that when we stopped being persuasive and we became abrasive instead. Because in the end, it's not a matter of if we will disagree with other people throughout our lives, it's about how we will disagree with other people. And when we mess it up, we need to get out the lemon squeezy and clean it up. An appropriate apology can be one of the most demanding aspects of love. But in fact, there is no love without apology. It's not always easy peasy, pudding and pie and all that, but it is important. In the book titled Evolution of Faith, Philip Gilly writes something about the church that I think applies very well to all souls. And in fact, it's completely humanist too, which I thought was interesting, and it applies very much to what this service is about as well. He writes, "While I belong to a number of organizations and institutions, only the church has given me the language of reconciliation. When I've been angry, it has taught me to forgive. When I've been lonely, the church has provided friendship. When I was happy, it celebrated with me. When I was sad, it shared my grief. When I was egotistical, thinking only of myself, the church corrected me and taught me to consider others. When I was stingy, it taught me generosity. When I was fearful, it taught me courage. In short, the church let me practice what it means to be human. Not just any kind of human, but the best human I could be." Let us bless each other's hearts by seeking out the love that binds us together. L for listening to the song behind the words. O for those oh snap moments when we catch ourselves being hooked. V is not for victory, but love is about relationships, not winning. And E, my daughter's favorite, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, clean it up. Clean it up when we have gone too far. Let us not just talk about love inside these walls, then we're just like any other religious people, proclaiming all kinds of good things, but not actually living them in our lives. So let us live it outside, try anyway, every moment of our lives, and then come back and hopefully get re-inspired to try again the next week. As we do, let us remember that we are all on our way, on the way, and none of us has arrived yet. Let that keep us humble and human. And let us remember that at the center of it all is one simple word, L-O-V-E, love. I love you.